Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
My so is still in love with her ex and doesn't know I know. My 27 male, so 27 female, and I have been together for about 7 years and now share a home. She's had lovers before me, and I've had a few minor high school relationships, but in many respects, she's my first. I admire her, particularly her grin and the way her eyes crinkle when she's delighted. I consider her to be the finest thing that has ever happened to me. We both came from difficult backgrounds, and when I met her, I fell head over heels for her, mostly because of her sense of humor, intellect, and compassion. It took a little longer for her to fall for me. Not that I was chasing her down, since she'd just gotten over a painful breakup, but the more we saw each other and went places together, the closer we grew. We've obtained our degrees, jobs, and an apartment together since then, and I've been saving up to purchase her a ring to propose with. I'm extremely proud of both of us for what we've accomplished, and I know that without her love and support, I wouldn't have accomplished anything. It's not a one-way path. I encourage her in whatever she wants to accomplish, tell her how I feel about her on a daily basis, and buy her things simply to make her happy. There's always been this nagging feeling in me that I'm not good enough for her. Her breakup was so traumatic that she spent a long time in a deep pit of emotions, and it took her a long time, energy, and effort to climb out of it. According to what she said, he wasn't abusive, but he was going through a tough patch and lashing out at her, particularly since she was an easy target, and it reached to the point where her mental health couldn't handle it any longer and she cut it up. When we got serious and formal, she was open and honest with me about her previous relationships, which I also revealed, and I enjoyed that we could be open and honest with each other about everything. One of the things she told me was that her first ex, not the dark hole guy, but another guy, let's call him Brian, was the first person she felt truly understood her, and that she found the love and sense of family she never had from her own in his, and that they broke up because she picked up some bad behaviors and things from her messed up family, and that she didn't realize she was driving him away until they broke up. She claimed that when she discovered what she'd done, it sparked a lot of thinking in her about the person she was, and she wanted that to change, so she got a terrific therapist and has since become an altogether new, healthier, and happier person, according to what she tells me. I have complete faith in her and am quite proud of her. She maintains a diary/journal on the recommendation of her therapist, and she writes in it on a regular basis. I respect her privacy and thoughts, so I've never read it, even though she's offered to let me a few times, and I'm not sure where she keeps it, and I'm not interested in finding out. This has never been an issue for me, even when I had the occasional insecure moment about her prior exes, since I realize it's a me issue, and that rummaging through her belongings won't help anything. I come to her when I'm feeling insecure, or I keep it to myself and tell myself that I'm worthy, that she loves me, and so on, and that keeps me on track. But the other day was her best friend's birthday, and we were getting ready to go to the restaurant where the celebration was being hosted. I'd gotten dressed fast and was in the bathroom assisting her with the zip of her dress while she did her makeup when she asked if I could fetch the earrings she put out on her desk for her, which was of course no issue. When I arrived to the desk, I saw that she'd left her journal open next to the earrings, perhaps because she'd been writing in it before getting dressed. Her desk/vanity table is in our room. I didn't want to look, but as I grasped her earrings, my gaze was drawn to a recent section in which she wrote something like, I'm paraphrasing, God, I still miss you B. You showed me what it was like to have a family, and I shattered it and you, the first and only person I've ever loved. To be honest, reading it made my blood run cold. I believe it was partially because I knew I shouldn't have, and partly because reading what she said made me ill. All my concerns about not being good enough for her, my worry that she was settling for me, all came rushing up at me, making me dizzy, but I tried my best to push it down and get her the earrings so we could leave. I felt like it was my fault that I was staring, thus I deserved how I felt. She saw I wasn't totally myself, kept touching my forehead and said I looked ill, that we didn't have to go, but I maintained I was okay, and just a bit apprehensive since this was our first large gathering since COVID struck, which I believe she bought. Now, I'm sitting here in a cold sweat, days later, while she's at work wondering whether she actually loves me or if she's settling for me since her heart is still with Brian. I'm not sure what to do, who to inform, or even whether I should tell anybody. I'd want to forget what I've read. What causes me to forget? What should I do? I've since become sober. To be honest, I was a bit hungover. This thread and my DM have provided some excellent counsel and viewpoints, as well as some less so. I'll take the nice things and chat to her when she comes home from work tonight. Those of you supporting a red pill/incel agenda should stop. Regardless of how I'm feeling or will feel tonight, she's still a human being like me and needs to be treated as such at the very least. Update. So when she arrived home from work yesterday night, I was waiting on the sofa. I say waiting, but I was simply in my brain deciding how I wanted to start a conversation and trying not to psych myself out. But I think I still looked weird since she mentioned touching my forehead again and being extremely worried about me, which helped bring me out of it. I informed her that I wasn't really unwell, but that something was bothering me and that I wanted to speak to her about it. She sat there and waited for me to start talking, which is something I like about her. She never rushes to conclusions or overthinks things like I do. She just waits patiently, which I admire. I told her that when she asked me to get her earrings the other day, they'd been on her desk by the open diary and I'd accidentally skimmed over some of it and read that passage, and I was sorry I'd done it because I hadn't meant to, but I read what she said about Brian and it had been eating at me and magnifying some of my insecurities, and I wasn't accusing her of anything and I wasn't mad at all. But I wanted to tell her she looked really confused at some point, and told me to wait while she went and got her diary from wherever it was, and then sat back down next to me and flipped until she got to a page and asked me if that was what I saw, and I looked and said yes, and I won't lie, seeing those words again made me feel queasy, so I only gave it a brief look to confirm. When I responded yes, her cheeks flushed and she seemed ashamed and horrified, so I asked her if she'd left it out for me to read. Was there anything she wanted to tell me but couldn't? She shook her head no and explained that she'd been writing in it and had lost track of time. So when I came in and told her we needed to start getting ready, she just got up and left, not feeling the need to hide anything from me, but that the pages must have settled on an earlier entry. And then she flipped to the most recent one, which was dated for the 3rd. She then returned to the paragraph and showed me the date, which was from the beginning of the year. She stated that she and her therapist had been working on addressing the guilt she still felt for some of her past actions, particularly with Brian and their breakup, and that her therapist had her write out statements of things she'd once felt for him at the time, and then process through it as she thinks and feels now, as a healthier adult and not the broken teen, her words. She recommended we read the whole post together, and I agreed, so we did, and that's exactly what we did. That at the time of their breakup, she didn't believe she could love someone else the way she loved him, that he'd been the first and only person she'd ever loved, and she didn't want to let him go, which is why she fought for a long time to win him back. That she'd grown a lot as a person since then, met me, and made a life with me, and how pleased she was. How much she loves me and understands what the term really means now, and how she's still a bit afraid she'll drive me away as well. There's more about me, but you don't need to hear it, haha. I won't lie, we were both in tears at the end. After that, we hugged on the sofa for a bit, and she invited me to her next therapy session since she believes it would benefit me, and I accepted. She's also told me where she keeps her diary, even though I said I didn't need to know, but she said she trusts me completely and I'm not the type of person to look through her things out of jealousy or against her wishes, which is true, and that's why she felt comfortable leaving the diary out, though she didn't count on the pages settling back and sending me spiraling. She added that how she felt about Brian was how a 15-16-year-old who had never had anybody genuinely care about them felt, but that she's gone beyond that chapter of her life and grown from it, and that I'm the only person she wants to spend the rest of her life with, and I believe her. As I write this, she is having supper across from me. Things seem a lot better now, and I'm relieved that the comments who said she was still in love with him were incorrect. I'm glad we came out of this stronger, and I'm glad I didn't do something rash. I'm simply overjoyed.